This is crazy. You can't even make this up. Happy Sunday and welcome to the Doom Report. Okay, so by now you've probably heard, unless you're just waking up, that there was a gunman at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night. He did shoot one Secret Service officer whose vest did the job, and he's going to be just fine. They shot the suspect and did not seriously wound him either, so he'll be around to tell the story. The shooter was 31-year-old Cole Allen of Torrance, California. He is a teacher and a tutor for a nonprofit. He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and several knives. If you've seen the video, he just went running as fast as he can through the checkpoint and shot the one officer on the way by. And like I said, his vest did the job and he'll be just fine. But man, he was moving. Now, there's been no statements released about motive or anything like that. But guess what OVP found out? So while he was getting his master's degree, he worked at the Jet Propulsion Lab with at least two of these scientists who have mysteriously been unalived or vanished. That's some very interesting information. Something tells me this rabbit hole just got a whole lot deeper. So I'm sure there'll be more to come on this in the coming days, but that's just a crazy coincidence, isn't it? Wow. Anyway, Trump cancels the envoy trip to Pakistan for the talks with Iran because, well, the Iranians weren't going to show up anyway, so why bother? The British Palace is holding talks over plans for King Charles and Queen Camilla's visit to the U.S. after the shooting at the Correspondents' Dinner. Maybe they're having second thoughts. Maybe they're going, yeah, you know what? Maybe not. A roommate has been charged with the murder, death, and disappearance of two college students at the University of South Florida. Mali's defense minister, Sadio Kamara, has been killed amid coordinated attacks. There was a shooting at the Swedish hospital in the 17th District of Chicago last night, where an officer was killed and others are in critical condition. A federal judge has issued an order to pause the Egyptian family's deportation after they have been rearrested by ICE. The New York Times is reporting that the U.S. Mint has been buying gold from the drug cartels and selling it as American. No. Corruption? No, can't be. The U.S. military says it is clearing Iranian mines in the latest push to open the Strait of Hormuz. Mexican officials say that the U.S. CIA agents killed in a crash weren't permitted to operate there. No, you mean the CIA operates in places they're not supposed to? Come on. Kenya's Sebastian Saw is the first person to run a sub-2-hour marathon to win in London. However, the AI thing would just smoke him, the little robots. Viktor Orban has stepped down from the Hungarian parliament after his landslide defeat in the election. The mother has been arrested after two children were found unalived inside a Wallasey, Massachusetts home during a wellness check. What is the matter with people? The Justice Department to allow firing squads for execution in a move to ramp up capital punishment. Of course, unless you're on, like, the Jeffy E. files or anything like that, then you're just fine. Don't worry about it. So since we're talking about corruption, there is actually a business, pretty large business in my little town here, that is out under federal investigation. Apparently they were taking all the money from their employees to pay for their health coverage, but then not giving them health coverage and just stuffing it in their pocket. It's like $250 million or something like that. It's not just the big cities, guys. Israel had a large-scale attack on Hezbollah in Lebanon last night, so apparently that ceasefire is a no-go. A highway bombing in Colombia kills at least 14 amid a wave of attacks. Yes, there is stuff going on everywhere. I know the mainstream media only talks about what's going on with Iran. You don't even hear that much about Ukraine and Russia anymore, but they're still at it hot and heavy. And there's things going on everywhere. A new global panel aims to accelerate the move away from fossil fuels, although this is fake news because there's no way they can do that and still power all these data centers they're building. So, leaders of France and Greece say that the EU's defense splurge is no alternative to the NATO alliance. Police in Northern Ireland declare a security alert after a report of a car bomb explosion. Afghanistan calls for Afghans who helped the U.S. in war and are now stuck in Qatar to return home. I don't think I'd trust that. Like, oh yeah, guys, it's fine, it's fine. Come on back, it's okay. Yeah, I think not. There was a huge fire last night at the RAF Fairfield U.S. bomber base over in the UK. Apparently, the damage to our U.S. bases is far more extensive than what they originally told us. It is being reported now that there's some of them that are pretty much just done for. Can you imagine that? The media not telling us the whole story? Jeez. Beijing lashes out at the EU after Chinese firms are included in the latest Russian sanctions. This is all coming to a head, I'm telling you. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he was successfully treated for prostate cancer. Not that they'd actually tell us if it wasn't successful anyway. Somali pirates have hijacked an oil vessel because, why not? Everybody else is doing it. Russia's oil exports slump as the Ukraine hammers ports and refineries. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledges to move on banning Iran's IRGC in the next parliament session, which makes absolutely no sense to me because they're not in Iran, so how can you ban the IRGC? I don't get it. Hundreds of people trying to climb Mount Everest are stuck at base camp as a glacier blocks the route to the summit. A UK Palestinian activist tells the court that his sledgehammer attack on an officer was reasonable. Yeah, of course it was. British fighter jets were scrambled as Russian drone debris crashes on Romanian territory. An appeals court in Kenya has overturned the ruling that affirms the right to abortion. Hungary's next prime minister warns investors to shun Orban-tied assets. A Ukrainian company is upgrading its battlefield robots like smartphones. These things are kind of cool, at least until they start chasing us up and down the street one day. I'll be back. President Zelensky says he is ready to meet Putin in Azerbaijan, which I would be really surprised if that happens. But hey, you never know. French President Macron pledges that France will stand by Greece against Turkey. Yep, haven't we been talking about this eventually turning into World War III? And on a good story, there was a cat and a dog stranded on Ukraine's front lines that were rescued by a drone. So I like the kitties and the puppies. My dog is laying here snoring right now, and my cat is sleeping on my lap. Tunisia has suspended one of Africa's oldest rights groups as the crackdown widens. Iran has executed some protesters over the January uprising. The Senate panel is scheduled to vote to advance Warsh as the new Fed chairman as the Powell probe is dropped. The U.S. is considering using the Defense Production Act to bail out Spirit Airlines. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino started chanting USA, USA in defiance as he was escorted out following the shooting at the Correspondents' Dinner. The shooting by the guy that was tied to, that worked at the Jet Propulsion Labs and was tied to several of these scientists that kind of disappeared. Yeah, rabbit hole. Big, deep rabbit hole. Russia has launched 3 tons of cargo to the International Space Station from Kazakhstan. And that's your news for Sunday. What is today? The 26th? I believe it is. We will be on 0 Hour tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on Half Ass Ready's channel. So make sure you tune in and catch that. I'm telling you, this shooter thing is really, really strange. So I'll see what I can dig up, but this is getting crazy. Never thought this was going to be tied to the whole scientist thing, but it's definitely interesting. Hey, have a good Sunday, y'all. We will see you all on the next one. OVP out.